One missile attack lasted only minutes, but its consequences reached far beyond a single battlefield. Within hours, the United States launched what it described as a heavy wave of strikes across Iran, targeting military sites linked to one of the country's most powerful security forces. At the same time, missiles were flying toward Jordan, oil tankers were being attacked in the Strait of Hormuz, and another fragile attempt at diplomacy was collapsing. What began as retaliation was rapidly becoming a regional crisis, and the real story was only beginning. According to U.S. Central Command, the operation was launched after Iran attempted ballistic missile attacks on American forces based in Jordan, and after Iranian forces targeted shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. In response, U.S. aircraft struck dozens of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, targets. The reported targets included military command centers, missile and drone facilities, coastal surveillance systems, maritime capabilities, and other military infrastructure. CENTCOM described the operation as a powerful response and said every Iranian missile aimed at U.S. forces had been intercepted. But while the military operation lasted only about an hour, its political consequences could last much longer. Iranian state media reported that several locations in southern and western Iran were hit, including Qeshm Island and Abadan, both of which play important roles in the country's oil industry. Iranian reports also said 3 civilians, including a 2-year-old child, were killed after a residential home was struck on Qeshm Island. While these casualty figures come from Iranian state media, they underline a painful reality. Even when governments say they are targeting military infrastructure, civilians often become part of the cost. And that changes how every future strike is viewed. The impact was also being felt by ordinary people. A resident from southern Qeshm told BBC Persian he was leaving for Tehran because the situation had become increasingly dangerous. He described repeated electricity outages, unstable internet connection, and explosions continuing through the early morning hours. Those personal accounts reveal another side of the conflict. Beyond military briefings and official statements, daily life can change overnight. But Iran itself was not the only place under pressure. Jordan's armed forces announced that their air defense systems intercepted 5 Iranian missiles heading toward the kingdom. Earlier, Iran's Revolutionary Guard said it had targeted a U.S. airbase and command center in Jordan as retaliation for what it described as American aggression. At the same time, the IRGC claimed its naval forces struck 3 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz after accusing them of traveling through what it called an unsafe route. That matters because the Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most strategically important shipping lanes. Any disruption there immediately raises concerns far beyond the Middle East. This latest exchange did not appear out of nowhere. A ceasefire announced in April had been intended to pause months of fighting, but it broke down in June. Since then, the United States has blockaded Iranian ports and carried out strikes on military sites, while Iran has responded with missiles, drones, attacks on American assets across the region, and operations targeting shipping. Each side says it is responding to the other's actions, but every retaliation has also become the starting point for the next one. For a few days, there were signs that diplomacy might still be possible. Reports suggested both sides had paused major strikes while discussions were being explored. President Donald Trump even described them as very friendly negotiations. Tehran, however, publicly denied that any talks were taking place. That brief pause ended after the attempted Iranian missile attack on U.S. forces in Jordan. Trump warned that the United States would respond forcefully, and within hours, American aircraft were carrying out one of the largest recent strike operations against Iranian military targets. The opportunity for de-escalation had quickly disappeared. The conflict is also spreading across the region. Earlier in the week, the United States and Saudi Arabia publicly conducted joint strikes against Iranian-backed groups in Iraq. U.S. Central Command said those operations targeted logistics and weapons sites after more than 30 IRGC-directed drone attacks over 72 hours. Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces reported that at least 20 members were killed, while Iraq's presidency condemned the strikes as a violation of its sovereignty. At the same time, Egypt reported that a fire at one of its ports had been caused by a drone attack, marking another sign that the conflict is reaching beyond its original front lines. Behind the scenes, however, diplomacy has not completely disappeared. Axios, citing an unnamed U.S. official, reported that Saudi Defense Minister Prince Khalid bin Salman met President Trump and conveyed Saudi Arabia's desire to reduce tensions. The White House did not publicly confirm the report, but it reflects the difficult position many countries now face. Saudi Arabia has long competed with Iran for regional influence, yet an expanding war would threaten the stability of the entire region regardless of who gains the upper hand. The latest U.S. strikes were not just another military operation. They revealed how quickly a single attempted missile attack can trigger consequences across multiple countries, strategic waterways, military alliances, and civilian communities. Whether the next chapter is written through diplomacy or another round of retaliation remains uncertain, but one reality is already impossible to ignore. Every decision being made today is reshaping the security landscape of the Middle East, and the effects could reach far beyond the region itself.